No, this idea of moments of meaning making, the moments, that's my time frame, my time idea. It's moments. Things happen in a moment.
That's the voice of Mieke Bal, and we are continuing the conversation that we started in the previous episode about her book Moments of Meaning Making. You can find a link to this first part in the show notes, but don't worry, you can also listen to this episode by itself. I am Mario Veen, and until I find a better title, this is the Interdisciplinary Philosophy Podcast. Mieke Bal is a cultural theorist, critic, video artist and curator who works and writes from an interdisciplinary perspective. And in this conversation, we discuss intermediality, so what it is like to live and to analyze between media. And we talk about my favorite concept that she discusses in Moments of Meaning Making, which is precarity. We also talk about how concepts are the tools of interdisciplinary analysis and how to go about working with them. And yeah, we talk about many other things as well, or I should probably say about many other moments of meaning making that change the way you see. Please enjoy the second part of our conversation. Intermediality. So we were talking about, you had this double internship of interdisciplinarity, which is usually seen as something between disciplines in the academic world, but you also came into being an artist. And I don't know a good question. Intermediality. I'm just saying a word. That's my question.
The intermediality is also this internship between media. And of course, if we realize how we work, how we function, everything is intermedial. You cannot say, if you turn on your television, it's not just a television, it is also voice and music and sound and images and storytelling. Storytelling is always present. I've written an article about it, maybe you want to read that, about intermediality and the issues it raises about how competent are we in what we do, because you want to not be a sort of an amateur who is just doing everything. You want to be good at what you do. That's also how you make your living. And so intermediality is an approach to cultural issues that deploys different media in connection to each other. And what I wrote, that you cited earlier, in Paris, in the Collège de France, the mission was to write about the invention of Europe through languages and cultures. That was the title of our year. And so I had to deal with all those plurals and languages, and I was happy that it was languages in the plural, and that there was no attempt to impose English as the Esperanto for everybody. It doesn't work that way. But lots of people are now capable of communicating in English as in addition to their own language. And so you get these interlinguistic possibilities to communicate. And I think that is also, of course, there is a sense that English is a bit imperialistic, especially with America being the English-speaking continent, but it's just wrong to decide that that's the only language that we can communicate in. And so that's why at some point, this was a very funny thing that happened, that I was invited in New York for a semester. And my first immediate reaction for myself was, I can't go to New York without Spanish. Not possible. Half the population is Spanish speaking. So if you don't speak Spanish, you are already casting out half the population. So I started to learn Spanish. And that was very satisfying because it's a beautiful language and there's a beautiful literature. And so I even made a film, an exhibition on Don Quixote the Spanish hero. and that was also a lot of fun to do. And part of that was done in that place in Sweden where these guys work. It was a lot of fun to do that. But I needed Spanish, and I don't have enough Spanish, of course, to do anything in Spanish. But, I have done lectures that I asked people to translate, and then I can read them in Spanish. And for me, it was a way of making English not the only possible language. And I think that is very important. As beautiful as it can be, and I'm fond of Shakespeare, really am, but that is not enough to communicate. So I think intermediality is a way of making the concept of language as communication wider. Yeah. It's not just linguistic language, it's also communicating, gestures, facial expressions, everything. And that is also what helped in the filmmaking, of course. So I've had a lot of fun with that. And I've always had the chance, I've had incredible chance with finding good actors. Because that's also not so easy to find good actors and not being able to pay them generously. And so it was very important to just through actually one of the students in my theory seminar. I gave that theory seminar, yes. Yeah. And there was one guy who came from Paris every month for the seminar. It was amazing that people came from all over Europe for this monthly seminar. And this guy was in the film business, and I said, do you know any good actors? I want to make a film about this. And here they were. And I had a whole cast through this one student. That was amazing. And they stayed friends, because I always have a very lovely experience in filmmaking that the actors are participants. So they are not under my dictatorial, how you call it, these sort of film dictators, I call them, who sit on a chair and say, do it again.
This is my vision, and you have to conform to the vision until it's...
Yes, and do it again. And instead, when they did something that I had not expected and not asked, but then it worked. I thought, oh, that's wonderful. And so the actors became participants and friends, as these people in the documentaries also became friends, but the actors also. So I have the same actors in several films, because they are so good and so lovely.
Sometimes in one film playing several roles.
Right, you've seen that in Madame B.
Yeah.
The three men in Emma's life are played by the same actor. And when you see the photos, it's incredible how they look different.
Speaking of Emma, that connects to, I think it's under P. Precarity.
Oh, precarity, that's Emma, yeah.
And first, because I don't know what I'm calling this podcast yet. I'm changing it because the Plato book is finished, so I have to call it something else. I was thinking about challenging time. We have to challenge time, and time challenges us.
Yes.
One of the things that for me is such a joy when I read something and there's a new word, like you give me a new word, because I was thinking about challenge, and it doesn't sit quite right with me, and it's too violent in a way. You challenge someone to a fight. So I thought, I'm almost there, but not quite there. And then I came to P. P is precarity. You write about comparison. Comparison is the release of the potential of the original, the other work. In contemporaneity, this potential includes the idea of standing on the threshold of time. This is about Emma. This makes not only Emma, the paper person, but also time itself precarious. So we don't know what the context is, right?
Right.
But just this, sometimes it's just two words like time is precarious.
So when you say you learned a new word, that's precarity.
Precarity. Of course, I know the word precarity, but not as a concept.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I didn't before I made that film and before I wrote that entry, is precarity became, thanks to the cameraman, the cinematographer, who was filming this initial scene when you see Emma standing in sort of poverty in a ruined house. She's standing on a ruined house, and we were on our way to a house, and then we saw that ruin, and we said, "Oh, that would be a really good image for Emma's precarity." And we went and knocked at the door of the house next to it and said, "Can we film in your ruin?" "Oh, of course." And so we made this scene, and it really works well, that you see Emma trembling and wobbly and not quite stable. But you don't see the people who see her, because that's us. and the neighbors in her city, in her town, who are despising her because she's not reliable, she's not taking good care of her daughter, they all have criticism of her. But when you see her alone, standing in that precarious situation, you realize that her whole life is precarious and that she's about to collapse, which in the end she does. So this image of precarity is significant thanks to the fact that you don't see the people who see her. You don't see the focalizers. They are not visible. Of course, they are there. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. But it is they are invisible because they are out of reach for our critical eye. But Emma is standing there and wobbly, and so. But the cinematographer, Christopher Wessels, he's from South Africa. He is a very good filmmaker, and he was doing the camera work there. And he had a tripod, but he decided not to use it because he didn't want a stable image. So he did the two versions, one with the tripod and one without, and we immediately went for the one without the tripod because the precarity was so visible. And that's the thing about intermediality. You have to use the media in the best way that they can do with what is at stake. And here it was showing precarity, and it worked. And so I was really grateful for Chris that he had done the two versions, and that we could choose. It was wonderful. Yeah.
I also like the sound of the precarity is also the sound is
of the word.
Of the word.
Yeah, precarity.
So if I ask you what is precarity, you don't give a definition, right?
No.
So just to think about why I'm asking this question, because one of the things that I've always been continued to work with, and what I also try to contribute with other people when they're struggling with the question, is like concept. What concept? What are the concepts that you're working with, right?
Yes.
So precarity is an example of a concept.
Yes.
So how would you go about, you find this word, I'm almost going to say interesting, but there's something with this concept. How would you go about that?
Yeah, you don't want to define it. You don't want to do the classification. The word has a sort of resonance of fragility. For me, it sounds a bit like fragility. You're not safe, you're not stable, and that makes it precarious. So it's a concept, but it's a concept that doesn't bear definition. You cannot define it. You can only say it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's, in a sense, as you can see from the photos, it's a bit threatening. Mm-hmm. She looks out of a building and there.
Look, here's where we need the camera.
Yeah. Right. She looks out of a building as if she's about to fall down.
Yeah, and we're on the street, so we cannot prevent it. We cannot do anything.
You cannot do anything. So that makes it precarious, and that's how this is a beautiful photo that Lena made of precarity. Yeah.
So concepts, what people think when you say concepts is... okay, so the first step is that people think concepts is something cognitive. That's cognitive, it happens in our brain, and that's how we see the world. One step that I've been making a lot is that the concept is discursive. So it's something that we... Wittgenstein, it's something we negotiate the meaning of, the meaning, well, what we've been talking about, it can change. But then that's one of those joys again that I read, and then you say, furthermore, a concept is not discursive, for it does not link up propositions.
No.
Do you want to read that part? Or,
well, I can.
This is page 233. There you write 2 paragraphs about concepts.
Okay, concepts are moving, just like images, yes.
Yeah.
They act, they perform, like artworks. They do work. To understand then what the actions are that concepts consist of, I end this entry on the Leuzenkart statement, the concepts are centers of vibration. And of course, a center of vibration is a sort of an image of movement, each in itself and everyone in relation to all the others. They resound rather than cohere. Yeah, for me, that's the point. They are not coherent in the sense that they compose a proposition. They are moving around. And this makes the busy life I grew up in, where vibration overruled understanding. Resonating may well be the best result of comparison, attuning us to the liveness of art and literature, ancient and modern, contemporary and historical. Yeah, that's my point about in my book, Traveling Concepts, is this traveling between disciplines, between geographical regions, between times, historical times, and the different media. And that is, why concepts are in movement and have to stay in movement. And this is how precarity is precious as well as risky. So the photo of the woman who almost is afraid that she falls out of the window is also staying safe. She doesn't fall out of the window. You see only her head. You don't see her in danger of falling, but she may look at the street and think, oh my God, I could fall, but I'm not going to. And so she is both in precarity and in safety. And I think that is the importance of that sort of uncertainty that precarity involves. It's uncertainty. It's instability.
So you also like the words that are ambiguous,
yes.
Right? That it's not, it means this or that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if you know my film about Cassandra. It's about time.
Yeah.
And the title, It's About Time, ! Mm-hmm. And then reflections on urgency or something. But to add the exclamation mark changes the meaning of It's About Time. The chapter is about time. I'm explaining time, theoretically. But it's about time to do something. The exclamation mark changes the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And that is how concepts move and must move, because otherwise they become classifications. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that is an important point.
And so in this film is the figure of Cassandra. Mm-hmm. You also connected to Greta Thunberg.
Because she's so into the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another dimension connected to time is taking time to listen, right? So no one took the time to listen to Cassandra.
Yeah. Taking or giving time. You also have to give time. When you're in a museum, you have to give time to the artwork so that the artwork can work instead of being an object. And that is also about time, yeah. So I was interested in the ambiguity of the phrase, it's about time. Yeah, it's about time, but that's a boring subject if you only describe time. Okay, time has no form, and in spite of that one guy who theorized the form of time, and in the end, It's not about form. Time is movement.
Do you ever think about what is the time we live in, or what is the age that we live in?
Time in the sense of age, of course. Now with the wars going on, it's just this morning I ran into the neighbor here next door, and we talked about going on vacation, and he said, well, we were going to go to Jordania, but we've decided against it because at this time it's not safe. And so that would be your sense of age. You live in an age that we're not safe anywhere, in fact, but certainly not in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. And safety, that's the precarity of the P. that lack of safety is making it impossible to go on a holiday and sit on the beach, mm-hmm. because the bombs are flying over your head. So this neighbor they changed their vacation plans completely.
Yeah.
And I understand. So that would be the sense of age. Yes, and I do feel, that we live in a precarious age.
And is that different from, because you write this book because you are at a certain age where you are looking back, right?
Yeah, more or less.
More or less?
Yeah.
Do you feel that so there was a sense of urgency of doing your work when you were younger, coming up with the concepts and making the film, which was responding to maybe, I need to do something here, I need to do something with that. Do you think do we live in a different age now, or what have you seen? Because you have lived through decades.
Yes, I know. Yeah, and I was born after World War II.
Yeah.
So I never lived that, but I lived it in the memories of my parents because they told the stories. And so that was another way of living through it. But yeah, the age is, at the moment, the time is very dangerous, and we're all a little nervous that World War III may break out. It's so scary. And then the idea that Trump is a candidate for the peace prize.
Yeah, proposed by Netanyahu.
Yeah, right. A mass murder.
Yeah.
Yes. No, you laugh, but it's not to laugh about. I think it's very serious.
That's for me the concept most comes up is absurdity.
Absurdity, yes.
And there is a dimension of humor, I think, to absurdity, because I think it's also a survival mechanism that we need to laugh, we need to ridicule as well. Yes,
true. But it's what is happening is so dreadful and so. Yeah, how to say it? I am a little afraid. Mm-hmm. That something really, really horrible is going to happen even here. We have a war at north and we have a war at south. 2 wars, and we live in between.
And how you lived also through the period of the Cold War, where there was also a threat of maybe a nuclear strike or something?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that different?
No, well, I don't know, different. Of course, time is always different. Time is never identical, but it was at the time of the Vietnam War, that was the time of the Cold War, that I participated in demonstrations and, with my kid in a stroller. It was really dangerous. But it was, I had to do something. I couldn't sit at home and just only, we didn't even have a television, but to just only know from the journals what was happening. I had to participate in this protest against the war in Vietnam. So that was a very important thing for me and I had to take the baby because my then husband was not a non-husband. He didn't want to babysit, just never. So I did everything. Mm-hmm. The cooking, the caring, everything. But so I took the baby in a stroller and I went on the street. And when I saw the horses, the policemen on the horses, it was a little scary. So sometimes I fled into the school that had left the door open, which I thought was fantastic, because that was clearly a gesture of welcoming. But I did have to participate in the demonstration. Mm-hmm. I had to. Yeah. There was a sense of necessity. Now, today, of course, she wrote on the back something about that I was getting older. That was the publisher's idea.
I'm also getting older, but...
How old are you?
I'm 43.
Oh, wow. That's not really older. That's middle-aged at most. Not even really. That's not so bad. But she decided to put on somewhere, I think on the back cover, that I was getting older, and therefore wanted to look back at my life. But that is not what I had in mind. It was just, this idea of moments of meaning making, the moments. That's my time frame, my time idea. It's moments. Things happen in a moment.
How you write about your life. So I would say it's not like a memoir, like, I lived through this and this is what I want to say, or this is what my life has been like. But there's specific moments. You speak about quite intimate things, about your parents, about taking care of your siblings, about finding the time to read by walking from house to school, and this is how you got your reading in?
That's how I started to read. Yes, I had to. It was half an hour walking, and of course at that time there weren't so many cars. It wasn't as dangerous as it would be now, but walking was my way of having time to read, because I never had enough time. Now there's this chapter, Overdrive, where I talk about my rushing, always rushing.
I found the word, it's another V word, vanity.
Oh yes, vanity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how can you use your own experiences so you always use your own experiences if you do cultural analysis, if you write about, because you focalizing. But I don't know if you've done this before, that you explicitly say, this moment, how I took care of my family, or this happened in a meeting, or this happened at a conference. What function do you think that can have to write about your own life in relation? So my question is about the relationship to analysis.
Yeah, no, this is my whole point with this book, is to take the memories, childhood memories, adolescent memories, and to see then, looking back, how they have stimulated me in theoretical thinking, in an analytical thinking. I think that a lot of my work has come out of, without knowing it, has come out of experiences of things that I remembered. And so, I think I write somewhere about being taken by my parents to the Rijksmuseum and to see still lifes with the lemon peel and all that. And at that point, it was a bit boring for me, because I thought, well, the real lemons have that also. Why would you bother to paint them? And for me, this was an experience as a child. But it's about what you called noticing. It's about noticing. That my mother say, do you see those little points in the lemon peel? And she noticed it, but she made me notice it. And then later, of course, I became very sensitive to details. Mm. And details have been very, very important in my life, in my work, so both the literary and the visual work. And the filmmaking, details are so crucial, because that's a moment of meaning making. They change what you think you see. Like this Lucrezia thing, when the earring is hanging oblique. Yeah. And when I saw that, and I thought, oh my God, that's movement in a painting. That was movement. And what is the movement? She turns away from the audience.
This was also a kind of a coincidence, right? That you saw
I just
this
saw it.
In the museum. You were with your daughter there.
Yeah, in the US. Yes. Yeah, I was with my daughter, and my daughter said, "Oh, there's a fake Vermeer." She saw it was a fake. And I thought that was amazing, because she was like, I don't know, 12 or 14 or something. But seeing that earring hanging oblique, when the curator took the cloth off the painting that was in restoration, and he took it off, and then I saw her move. I saw her head move because I saw that earring. Yeah, that was a detail that made the whole thing different. Yeah. No, so I've always enjoyed also seeing things that I thought, wow, I never knew this could be like this. And then suddenly you see it. And so that is a kind of a joy of discovery.
And what does it take to notice something? Do you have to be in a certain kind of state? For me, personally, relaxation is very important. I notice the moment I relax, I notice more.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Or receptivity.
Probably, yeah. Probably the relaxation makes you receptive to seeing things. I can imagine that. I've never made a point of understanding how this works. It just happens.
It just happens.
And then I thought, oh, wow.
And what's the difference between a detail and a fragment?
That difference is very important. I think I write something about it. Maybe not here.
Yeah, here too.
Yeah,
That's why I ask it.
Yeah, a fragment is a part of a whole, and a detail is in the whole. A detail is an element of the whole, but you cannot take it out. A fragment you can take out. That's somehow, I don't know, but that's what I realized, the difference. Yeah, I remember that. I learned that from a friend, Naomi Shore, who passed away way too early, and she told me the difference between fragment and detail. And yeah, I bet that you can take Freud up on that also.
Maybe one last thing to talk about, if it's okay with you. I wonder about your relationship with Bergson.
Yeah.
There's one, you mention him quite often. What is Bergson to you? What role did he play in your work?
Well, I think that it's not a major figure of influence, but Bergson alerted me to the difference in temporality, duration, and the idea that you cannot break up time. And as Russell and who's the other guy tried to do. And I think Bergson had a more holistic sense of time, and but maybe I'm wrong. It's possible that I'm totally wrong. But I found him also important in his insistence that we always have memories and that we live and see and do in the line of memories that we have. And that is, I think, a Bergsonian idea that is really important. And so this whole sense of vanity, you mentioned vanity earlier. Vanity, I always thought it was like a pride or something. But then vanity is also the hopelessness. It's like death. Mm-hmm. All the skulls in the museums are vanities. And that is also an important point, that the emptiness. Vanity is also emptiness. So that's another concept that you cannot just pin down on one definition. Mm-hmm. There are very different aspects to it. I don't know. There are a lot of questions that I don't have an answer just away. I can only think more about it.
And write.
and then write. Yeah, maybe I will.
Yeah. So this book is very accessible, I think, right? I think I wrote you in the email already that, I mean, I really loved image making, but I can imagine that this book is a little bit difficult for, let's say, bachelor students.
Image thinking, yeah. Image thinking is, until this one, image thinking was my book that I thought, okay, this is my book about my work.
Yeah.
And because it's also, talking about the videos and the films and all that, but then this came along.
But here you can read it, you can relate to what you describe in conferences. Do you ask a question at the conference or not? How do you deal with being, let's say, a junior there, but the authorities there are criticizing your work, or encounters with people who are actually very generous in explaining? And I think that's what really helped. It's also, I think, how do you find an entry in someone's work? And as personal experience, walking on the street reading is something, it's very recognizable. Like, I always try to read on the train or here or there. But then you take it from there into other parts of your work.
No, these memories, this is the whole point of this book, is that the memories have somehow been an entrance into later conceptualizing, theorizing work that I did, because I became a theorist. My chair in Amsterdam was literary theory, and I found that completely normal, that I was a professor of literary theory, but then you have to think about what theory is and how it works and all that. And so this connecting childhood memories to later theoretical concepts was important for me. And I'm sure you know my book, or you know of my book, Traveling Concepts.
Yeah.
And that is all about that sort of mobility of concepts, that they are not stable. And I find that very important.
Can you, maybe as the last question, can I ask you about advice for these young people that I was describing? They're maybe at the end of high school or in another moment where they have to decide which directions do I go, and I have many interests.
Yeah. My only advice would be explore everything you're interested in and don't decide too fast. Just you see what happens. And if you are interested enough in something that makes you want to continue there, well, why not? But you don't have to decide so early that you want to be a teacher or not a teacher. You know, those professional choices are not the same as your thinking, as the way your thinking goes. So I would encourage the young people to explore their interests, their passions, their curiosity, explore it as much as they can until they say, oh, now I know, and then do something else. I think that's, they should not fix themselves. That's not a good idea. Of course, there is a moment in high school that you have to choose between the sciences and the languages, Latin and Greek, or physics and chemistry, I remember. And I probably made the wrong choice, because I went to the languages and not to the sciences, because I thought I wasn't good enough in that. So this was also the sort of insecurity that young people have. Am I good enough to do physics? Maybe, maybe not, but if you're interested in it, try it, and then you'll see.
Thank you so much for this conversation.
Okay. Well, it was a pleasure.